So this feels differently to me, this quarterback. I mean, obviously there's 4 of them, but everyone thinks it's going to be like Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels started right away last year, and Jaden Daniels, by the way, was not instantly great. There was a 3-4 week stretch there where it took Jaden Daniels a little bit to go ahead and take the tricycle off and then be able to go. It did. But I think this feels more like, to me, like what happened with Drake May in New England, where he did not start right away. It was Jacoby Brissett, and Jacoby was there for a couple games, and ultimately then once they got Drake May in, they felt like he was comfortable. They put him out there, and they let him go. But clearly they didn't feel like they had to play him right away. It's a unique spot. Shedeur was taken number 2 overall. It wouldn't change my opinion in the slightest because the schedule's so hard to begin with anyway, but I do think it would change the temperature of this conversation for a lot of people. Most of the time, Daryl, if you take a quarterback in the top 5, you're starting that quarterback right away. But as evidenced by last year and in the Drake May situation, it's just not always the case. And I think the Browns would be wise to avoid starting either of these quarterbacks in week 1 while fully acknowledging I want to see the rookies play somewhere around week 7 or week 8.
Well, to your point about Shedeur, had he been, let's just say for the sake of discussion, the pick at number 5.
Yeah.
Then I think a lot of folks would be banging the drum for him to start right away.
Yeah, for sure, there would be a lot of people.
I'm not saying that would be the right move. I'm just saying.
But you approach it a little bit different. I'll let you finish in a second. But you approach it a little bit different than if they're the number 2 or the number 5 overall pick for a couple reasons. You got $40 million in guaranteed money headed their way. There's a commitment attached to those guys. So if there's growing pains in the early part of the schedule, because you're playing Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, you have the Packers on there, you have obviously the London game on there, and you have so many good quarterbacks that you're playing ending in week 6 against the Steelers. If he struggles, he struggles. That's your quarterback for the next 4 years, regardless, 3-4 years. Like you're gonna make that work. Kind of like how Bryce Young in Carolina struggled in year 1, and everyone's like, well, that's not great. It's not ideal. We're also not throwing in the towel on him yet either. Like, we're going to figure this thing out, and we're going to go ahead and do it. You want to start those guys, have them get over the lumps as early as you possibly can. You don't have to do that now with a 5th-round pick.
Well, exactly. And even with a 3rd-round pick.
Right.
For me, there's absolutely zero sense of urgency from my perspective to put either one of them on the field quickly, okay? Do I think we'll see one or both of them at some point this season? Yeah, of course. These are the Browns. I mean, they need 3 and 4 quarterbacks just to get through the 17-game schedule. That's just their history. It goes back to earlier we were talking about and where, I can make the case to start Joe Flacco week 1. He's the best quarterback they have in that room.
Mm-hmm.
He has the best resume of anyone in that room. And you can sell that to fans. Hey, Joe Flacco's back, and he's going to start for us because everyone remembers that magical 5-week stretch back in 2023, right? Then there's the other thought of, well, you traded for Kenny Pickett. Granted, it was a 5th-round pick, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who, by the way, was the worst quarterback I have seen since 1999, come through that building to get Kenny here.
Which, by the way, Stefanski takes no flack for, but neither here nor there.
Right.
Had 2 years with him.
Right. But he wasn't very good.
No, I know, but people want to talk about like how PJ Walker was great and how Stefanski deserves credit with all these other quarterbacks, and they just always ignore DTR. But that's not the point of the convo. Go ahead.
Yeah. So with Kenny Pickett, you traded for him. All right, let's see what he's got. Year 4, you had the Steelers give up on him, but he found ways to win games, even though terrible offense, terrible coordinator, all that. So there's some intangibles there. Mm-hmm. Well, let's see what this kid has, right? Let's make sure that he can't be our franchise quarterback. And then there's the Herm Edwards argument of, well, you drafted 2 rookies. Did you draft them to collect dust, or did you draft them to turn them into something? Well, I don't think either one of these guys starting week 1 will benefit them and help them turn into anything.
Yeah, and with all due respect to Herm, and I see what you're saying because I agree with you, I feel like Herm just kind of looked at it like my catch-all thought is rookie quarterbacks play right away.
Right.
And he didn't acknowledge that this is just a different situation than most rookie quarterbacks.
These are not first-round picks here. It's a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick. And look, I know you're the shill for Shedeur, and that's fine.
Listen, I don't want him to play week 1.
Right,
I'm very vocal about that.
But my point is, I'm not going ballistic because he didn't get any first-team reps yet. Mm-hmm. Whether it's OTAs or minicamp. I love that they're bringing him around along slowly here. I think that's the smart play.
Why do you think that?
Well, for a couple of reasons. One, he's a lightning rod for attention, and that's not his fault. he's just a very popular player. He's highest selling draft picks jersey in the country right now, right?
Yeah. Has 10x anyone else in his rookie class's Instagram followers. Yeah.
Right. And that's fine. That's great. But we all know what playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns comes with. There's a lot of extra stuff that goes with that job. There's no reason to put that on him right now. Okay? And you have Joe Flacco, you have Kenny Pickett, and you got the guy you drafted in 50 picks in front of him too. There's no urgency. The other thing too, from my perspective with Shedeur, is that move to get him in the 5th round for me was low risk, high reward, which means from my perspective, if he works out, the Browns hit the jackpot. And if he doesn't work out, okay.
Not a big deal.
Right. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not taking a shot at Shedeur, but that's just how I look at that situation.
For sure. Yeah. You're not wrong there. Yeah.
Hey, he's there. Why not? Go for it. Okay. So that's why I'm not all up in arms about the reps he's getting and is he getting a fair shake and all that, because I know there are things in his game that the Browns really want to work with him to get better on. Okay. And hopefully he gets better on those before they can put him on the field, or they have to put him on the field. And for me, if you rush him out there, you do a disservice to him.
If he wins his starting job, and I would imagine the percentage you have of him winning this is very, very tiny at this point.
As close to 0 as you can get.
Frank Schwab of Yahoo had it at 1% when he did his article on Monday. I think a lot of people are living in that territory, which actually I think is a good territory right now.
I feel like it's really a 3-man race. It's not a 4-man quarterback competition. I feel like it's a 3-man.
2-man. If you throw Dillon Gabriel in there, I'm going to get upset. You think Dillon Gabriel's got a chance to win the starting quarterback job week 1?
No, like I said, there were plays where I couldn't even see him behind the line of scrimmage.
Exactly right. So let's be honest about it. It's a 2-man quarterback race for the starting job week 1. And then
the loser gets traded.
Loser gets traded. And then I feel like then it becomes a battle of the backup quarterbacks, whichever one that ends up being Dillon or Shedeur, to be the first one to go ahead and take over. And that's where I think Shedeur will ultimately win out that competition.
See, I don't disagree with you, but I know how Andrew Berry works, and I could see them force-feeding Dillon Gabriel as the number 2 quarterback. So I don't like that.
It's the hard part of this conversation and having conversations around this is it feels very similar, to when we talk about the Cavs, where it's like, here's what I think they'll do versus here what I think, Kobe Altman, the guy in charge making the decisions, will do.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard because you really have to stop and differentiate between the two.
Yeah.
What I would do is, you're right, it might end up being different than what the Browns would do. And by the way, I don't mind not having the same thoughts as the Browns right now. It's not as if their track record for thinking and logic for the previous 5 years has really been awesome. So I joked with Nick, I don't know if you caught it or not, when they traded out of the 2 spot and then ended up taking Mason Graham and then acquiring the 2nd round pick and doing everything they did.
And get it in the 1st round pick next year.
I kind of bursted Nick's bubble a little bit unintentionally, but I could tell he came in because he'd been saying that plan for 4 months. For 4 months, he'd been talking about that exact plan being the one that he wanted to see happen.
Well, I did for 2 months until all you guys bullied me into just picking a player.
So here's where I bursted his bubble, though. My congratulations to him was, great. You have the same line of thinking as Andrew Berry. That's not worked out very well as of late, or really for years on end now. I don't know that I think entirely similar to what the people in charge with this Browns team do. There was a while where I thought we were maybe lockstep. There was a while where I thought, okay, they're making the right trades. They're making moves that I would make. They're doing all these different things. But the past 12 months or so, they have been in outer space relative to what I would have done. Hell, even if I didn't take Shedeur, number 2 or number 5 overall, whatever it ended up being, I wouldn't have traded out of number 2. I would have taken Travis Hunter. I would have just ended the conversation there. There's a lot of things.
And then the argument is who throws him the football.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that in this scenario, you still could have ended up with the same quarterbacks.
I think that was a big mistake by Jacksonville to even make that trade.
And it might turn out to be that.
Travis Hunter away from being where they think they should be.
Time will tell. It might turn out to be that. But the point remains, I never would have taken Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round. That never would have existed if I was the one making the decision. So
You're not the only one that feels that way. I do too.
So what I believe happens is it might not end up being what actually ends up playing out, because they do think differently than I think right now. They really seem and give off the impressions that they want to give Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel opportunities here. And I watch too much Kenny Pickett to ever believe that's going to be a thing. And Dillon Gabriel, I liked Dillon Gabriel in college. I remember watching a few different Oregon games where I thought to myself, that's a good quarterback. But you know what I also thought?
He's a good college quarterback.
He's a good college quarterback. Exactly right. And no part of me watching those games was like, that's an NFL quarterback. I'm going to see that guy play on Sundays. Well, never once did that cross my mind with Dillon Gabriel.
And the other thing that's striking to me is that they had him above Shedeur Sanders. Yeah. And not just above Shedeur. Like think about it. There's a 50 pick difference. And the only reason they ended up with Shedeur is because why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what it was.
The value got to be too great for people in that room.
Right. It wasn't we have to have Shedeur here situation.
Mm-hmm.
No, because that would have probably been in the third round or earlier than that. It was okay, he's there. What the heck? Let's go for it.
Yeah.
And by the way, those type of decisions don't always end up bearing the fruit that, you hope. But in this case, this is why indifference is the wrong word, but if he doesn't work out, okay, no big deal. 5th round pick, took a shot, didn't work out. Oh, move on. Dillon Gabriel, almost similar to the same thing, but I still can't believe they made that pick. Just like I can't believe they picked DeShone Kizer, not Barry, but just the Browns in general, right?
Yeah.
The whole trust us on this or trust me on that or whatever.
As he buys the economy size of condoms
right.
at the local store.
But I can't.
What a sight that was, DeShone.
Yeah, I just can't wrap my head around Andrew Berry's strategies at times in the third round of the draft. I felt like that was just a throwaway pick. And at 94, that shouldn't be a throwaway pick.
Shouldn't be. No, not at that point. Not when, there's so many good players and so many good. I mean, think about how much you've waxed poetic about Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin taken in that same ballpark in that same area.
I love that pick.
And you loved it. And Harold Fannin looks like he's going to be somebody that is impactful on this team for years to come. He's open all the time.
Welcome back to tight end sets to Cleveland.
And I'm ready for it. And you know what? He might end up being the heir apparent after Njoku, because Njoku's getting a little bit older now. And maybe this is the last year we have Njoku, and then you go 2 tight end set and everything's beautiful with it. And then the year after, Harold Fannin takes off. But that's the type of players we're talking about. They chose Dillon Gabriel in a spot of the draft that there were still some decent players out there. 216-474 to below 92. Tommy in Brunswick. What's up, Tommy?
Hello, my friends. Thank you for
Tommy. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Okay, listen.
Did you break character for a second? What happened there?
I'm sorry. We drafted 2 quarterbacks and we drafted 2 running backs. The running backs are going to stay. One of the rookie quarterbacks are going to leave. And I don't know who that is. I think Flacco's going to start this year at the first game. I'm just saying the first game. Flacco's going to start. And Pickett, what do you do with him?
Trade him.
Yeah.
Well, the only problem there, Tommy, is you have to find somebody that actually likes him, and I don't know if that's the Saints because you have the Kellen Moore connection there. He coached him in Philadelphia. I don't know what it is. The only thing I have with Pickett is I don't know that the league is going to be chomping or champing at the bit, whichever you prefer, to go ahead and be like, here's value for Kenny Pickett. I just don't know that it exists.
Why don't you think Stefanski likes him?
No, I think Stefanski does.
Stefanski loves him.
I don't like him.
Andrew Berry loves him too.
Yeah, I don't like him.
I think he's gonna be ahead of Flacco, and I think he's gonna start this year.
I think he's going to have moments, Tommy, and I appreciate the call, buddy. I think he's going to have moments where you are talking about the same things they talked about in Pittsburgh, where he is a practice field All-American. He was Joe Montana in the practice field when it came to Pittsburgh Steelers. We spent a whole entire training camp of people in Pittsburgh telling us how they found their answer, and he looks so good and so awesome. So I expect him to look good. Daryl, you mark my words now. There's going to be moments where you think about Kenny Pickett, and you're like, wow. Some things have happened here with him, and he looks changed. And I want you to go back and look at some of the responses and look at some of the video of him on the practice fields when he was there in Pittsburgh his first year. The man, when he gets on the field, absolutely crumbles. he crumbles. He's a different player. And you've seen it
I'm
firsthand.
sorry, were you looking for me to make an argument here?
No, you've seen
Okay.
it. You've seen it firsthand. For how many years have you seen these quarterbacks that are good on the practice fields that doesn't ever translate?
Would you like to know
He's one of
my
them.
all-time Browns practice field Hall of Fame quarterback of the expansion era?
I feel like you've told me this before, but I'm trying to remember who exactly you said. Did you say Josh McCown?
Nope.
Did you say, was it Brian Hoyer?
Nope. 0 for 2.
Brandon Weeden.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew I would get it. I had
Smoking weeds,
I had
baby.
to jog it in my head for a second. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So Brandon Weeden was just awesome.
Oh, I when I'd watch him at practice after they drafted him, I'm like, holy smokes, they might have found Joe Montana here because he was just lighting it up. Then they put a defense on the field. And by they, I mean the opponents. And they also put an American flag on the field too. That was semi-problematic as well.
That did get in the way of him. Yeah.
Not a great way to begin the old NFL career there, getting caught under a flag. But remember Flipper against the Detroit Lions, where he's rolling out to his left and in trouble, and he just did like the backhand flip.
Yeah.
And we all just and Lions scoop it up, run, and we're just like, what the just happened? Did that just happen? That we saw that?
Yeah. Go watch one of the games Kenny Pickett appeared in last year. I believe it was the Washington game. He did look pretty decent in some aspects of that game. Watch the one where he basically ends up throwing the ball backwards and falling down.
Well, they
talking about weird, strange plays in games. The man was on the field for 30 seconds last year, and he had one all-time dumb play.
Hey, you're talking about a Super Bowl champion quarterback.
That's right.
Now.
Yeah,
if you ask the Cleveland Browns, you'd think he was on the field winning that Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I saw someone make the joke about like because Flacco's won a Super Bowl ring. Obviously, Kenny Pickett's won a Super Bowl ring. You know who else won a
Super Bowl ring?
Who's that?
Bernie Kosar.
Yeah, Bernie did. That's right. Exactly, in Dallas. We know what happened, though. Well, that's why context in sports matters so much. I'm not taking away from Bernie's ring, though. Bernie, you earn whatever ring you got to earn. But I'll take away from Kenny Pickett's ring a little bit. Sure, why not? Why not? Joe Flacco earned his.
A little bit of a double standard there.
Well, I like Bernie.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
There's the difference there.